What happened inside Queen Camilla's private estate has left the royal family reeling, and no one was prepared. Not King Charles, who was reportedly informed only after the fact. Not Prince William, who's been working overtime to protect the royal image. And not Prince Harry, who spent years exposing what goes on behind palace walls. Whatever was uncovered was powerful enough to silence the entire monarchy. No statements, no denials, just an unsettling quiet that's only fueling more questions. What exactly did they find that has the future of the crown hanging in the balance? The arrival that changed everything. On a quiet, chilly evening, a line of black SUVs rolled through the estate's winding roads like they owned the place. The mansion, always surrounded by an air of mystery, suddenly felt heavier. At the front entrance, a long pause followed a single loud knock. The butler, clearly shaken, finally opened the door. He'd been around for decades, seen enough royal drama to fill 100 documentaries. But this was new. The lead agent stated they had a search warrant. The butler froze for a moment, then stepped aside, watching as unfamiliar boots tapped across polished marble floors that glittered under those ridiculous golden chandeliers. Inside, the agents wasted no time. They weren't there for a tour. Their eyes scanned every corner of the extravagant halls, moving past antiques, priceless art and furniture worth more than a London apartment. They checked drawers, knocked on wood panels, even pulled at bookshelves. It looked like something out of a mystery movie, but with real consequences. At first, everything looked too perfect. That kind of perfection that hides things. Then came the twist. One agent, poking around in the study, spotted something strange. A bookshelf that sat just a little too tight against the wall. He pulled a book, and the shelf shifted. Slowly, the team pushed it open, and a secret door creaked to life. Torches in hand, they stepped into the hidden space. It was freezing and smelled like forgotten memories. Dust swirled in the air. Old trunks sat untouched. When they opened them, things got intense. Inside were handwritten letters, faded photographs, and documents that looked decades old. Some were addressed directly to Princess Diana. Others were clearly written in a hurry, with messy handwriting and emotional tone. Notes filled with warnings, secrets, and something that felt like desperation. Were these messages she wrote before her death? Letters never meant to be found. The agents handled them with care. Whatever this was, it wasn't just royal gossip.
I believe they are withholding some of the documents at the request of the British Secret Service.
Among the documents were pieces of jewelry. Some old, some clearly never worn at any official event. A few didn't even look British. They seemed out of place. Were they stolen? Or gifts never revealed? Before anyone could process that, another discovery came. Tucked beneath a dusty rug was a metal handle. As one of the agents pulled it, a trapdoor opened to reveal a tunnel leading underground. A hidden passageway, right under Queen Camilla's feet. Backup was called in. They entered the narrow passage. The air was damp, walls were marked with strange symbols, and it felt like stepping into some secret society's lair. It stretched on for what felt like forever, before ending at a heavy, locked door. After a few attempts, the door finally gave way. Behind it sat an underground room. Dark, silent, and packed with documents stacked like archives. Folders labeled with the names of major public figures, politicians, celebrities, global leaders. Some files were marked confidential and sealed shut. Not the kind of stuff anyone was supposed to have, let alone under a royal estate. But that wasn't all. On one side of the room, a wall was filled with old black and white photographs. Princess Diana, Prince Charles, a young William and Harry, even royals from other countries. Every photo looked carefully chosen, like someone had been quietly documenting their lives for years. Someone had been watching and collecting and hiding. And the agents weren't done. At the center of the room sat a heavy metal box, locked and rusted from time. It took some effort, but once opened, it revealed more letters, more papers, and old audio tapes. The contents hinted at something darker than anyone expected: allegations, confessions, and possible connections to the night Diana died. Whatever was inside this box wasn't meant to be found: the silence after the storm. The rumors came fast. Some insiders wanted everything hidden. Others demanded full transparency. But the palace kept quiet. Not a single statement, and that silence spoke louder than any headline. This wasn't just another royal story. It had the weight to shake the monarchy from the inside. And people couldn't stop asking, why Camilla's house? Why now? For years, Camilla has been surrounded by tension. From the moment she stepped into the royal spotlight, controversy followed. Even before she wore a crown, her name was tied to one of the most infamous chapters in royal history. Her journey was a long stretch of scandal, quiet moves, loud backlash, and slow acceptance. But the drama didn't fade. Camilla and Charles met in the early 1970s and quickly became close. People said it was love, but things didn't go their way. Charles went off to serve in the Navy, and Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles. Charles, meanwhile, married Diana in a royal wedding broadcast to the world. Behind the scenes, the fairy tale was cracking. Charles and Camilla never really disconnected. Their bond stayed intact through the years. Diana later implied that Camilla had been a constant presence in the background. It wasn't subtle. Charles never fully let go of Camilla. When Charles and Diana officially divorced in 1996, the public didn't hesitate to take sides. Most backed Diana. To many, Camilla was the reason for the heartbreak. Even after Diana's tragic death in 1997, people didn't soften toward Camilla. She became one of the most disliked figures around the royal family. Behind closed doors, the royal image team worked overtime to adjust her public role. But it didn't happen overnight. Camilla and Charles didn't make public appearances together until 1999. And even then, people weren't sold. There was resistance from inside the family, too. The Queen wasn't quick to embrace the idea. William and Harry were reportedly distant. The palace had to play the long game. When Camilla and Charles married in 2005, they skipped the royal grandness. The wedding was quiet and toned down, a clear message. Out of respect for Diana's memory, Camilla chose the title Duchess of Cornwall. She avoided using Princess of Wales, likely knowing how that would land with the public. Over time, Camilla made efforts to shape a new public image. She supported charities, focused on literacy campaigns, stood by Charles through every official duty. Slowly, opinions began to shift. Some people warmed up to her. Others stayed unconvinced. When Charles took the throne, the question about Camilla's new role wasn't simple. For years, officials floated the idea of her becoming princess consort, not queen. It seemed like a way to keep the peace, to avoid rewriting the story. But in 2022, Queen Elizabeth II surprised everyone by announcing that Camilla should be known as Queen Consort when the time came. That message from the Queen was unexpected. Some saw it as a firm stamp of approval. Others didn't welcome it. But the criticism hasn't just come from Diana-related drama. Camilla's own family has added more layers to the public's judgment. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, keeps showing up in headlines with his outspoken takes on royal life. He doesn't hold back and has made comments that seem to go against the quiet, polished royal image. While his support for his mother is clear, the way he talks often creates new problems for her. Then there's Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's ex-husband. The two divorced a long time ago, but their continued friendship keeps raising questions. In the royal world, exes usually fade into the background. Andrew, however, never really left the picture. His appearances at public events, often close to Camilla, have led to a lot of quiet speculation. Camilla has also had her own share of awkward public moments. Over the years, she's made remarks that were meant as light jokes but didn't land well. People called her insensitive. These weren't massive scandals, but they chipped away at her image, reinforcing the belief that she didn't quite get the tone right. A different kind of queen. Still, Camilla's role within the royal family has grown. She regularly takes on royal duties, supports charities, and appears beside Charles during important ceremonies. She tries to be more approachable, less rigid, and more human. And compared to the woman she was when the world first met her, she's made real changes. But the support she's earned hasn't translated into wide public affection. Polls show her approval numbers are better than they used to be, but she's far from the popularity that Prince William and Kate enjoy. Younger audiences especially remain distant. Camilla is tolerated. She's accepted. But she isn't adored. The love story that once shattered the royal image still echoes. Even now, when people think of that time, they feel the sting of it. And as long as Diana remains a beloved figure, Camilla's place as queen will always come with that extra weight. Now that she holds the title officially, the expectations are even higher. She's standing beside a king and helping guide a monarchy during a time of change. But controversy seems to have followed her into the crown. It doesn't fade. It just changes shape. Which is exactly why people were stunned when word got out that something serious had happened behind closed doors. Not just serious, but alarming. A full-scale, serious investigation. The shock started with the location. Camilla's private home. That alone raised eyebrows. But when it was confirmed that the FBI led the operation, everything escalated. The FBI deals with high-level crime, not palace gossip. They investigate corruption, large-scale fraud, and political secrets. So when agents showed up at Ray Mill House, it felt like something far beyond the usual royal scandal. British royal matters are almost always handled in-house through MI5 or Scotland Yard. American law enforcement doesn't usually cross into Buckingham territory. So the fact that the FBI led this effort instantly suggested something much more serious was going on. This wasn't about an overdue tax bill or a misunderstanding. This felt bigger. The public was left stunned, not just by the raid itself, but by what it might mean. No one's saying much. The palace has gone quiet. Official sources are careful not to comment. But speculation has already filled that silence. Who called the FBI in the first place? Was this triggered by a whistleblower inside the royal circle? Was there a trail of evidence they couldn't ignore? One of the loudest theories points to financial misconduct, not small-time royal budgeting problems, but large-scale wrongdoing. If that's true, it changes everything. Because if money trails are involved and they cross into American institutions or businesses, then the FBI would have the right to investigate, even if that meant knocking on the doors of someone wearing a crown. The fact that the raid didn't happen at a royal palace, but at a private estate, made the situation even more curious. Camilla's home doesn't have the layers of security that Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle has. It's a quieter, more secluded place. If something sensitive had to be hidden, it would be the perfect spot. That opened up more theories. Some believed the agents were searching for stolen items, explosive documents, or old letters that could shatter the monarchy's public image. Others suggested Camilla might have access to communications from past monarchs, possibly containing secrets about the government or the royal family itself. If even a single file had something damaging enough, it could force a major reckoning. While his support for his mother is clear, the way he talks often creates new problems for her. Then there's Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's ex-husband. The two divorced a long time ago, but their continued friendship keeps raising questions. In the royal world, exes usually fade into the background. Andrew, however, never really left the picture. His appearances at public events, often close to Camilla, have led to a lot of quiet speculation. Camilla has also had her own share of awkward public moments. Over the years, she's made remarks that were meant as light jokes but didn't land well. People called her insensitive. These weren't massive scandals, but they chipped away at her image, reinforcing the belief that she didn't quite get the tone right. A different kind of queen. Still, Camilla's role within the royal family has grown. She regularly takes on royal duties, supports charities, and appears beside Charles during important ceremonies. She tries to be more approachable, less rigid, and more human. And compared to the woman she was when the world first met her, she's made real changes. But the support she's earned hasn't translated into wide public affection. Polls show her approval numbers are better than they used to be, but she's far from the popularity that Prince William and Kate enjoy. Younger audiences especially remain distant. Camilla is tolerated. She's accepted. But she isn't adored. The love story that once shattered the royal image still echoes. Even now, when people think of that time, they feel the sting of it. And as long as Diana remains a beloved figure, Camilla's place as queen will always come with that extra weight. Now that she holds the title officially, the expectations are even higher. She's standing beside a king and helping guide a monarchy during a time of change. But controversy seems to have followed her into the crown. It doesn't fade. It just changes shape. Which is exactly why people were stunned when word got out that something serious had happened behind closed doors. Not just serious, but alarming. A full-scale, serious investigation. The shock started with the location. Camilla's private home. That alone raised eyebrows. But when it was confirmed that the FBI led the operation, everything escalated. The FBI deals with high-level crime, not palace gossip. They investigate corruption, large-scale fraud, and political secrets. So when agents showed up at Ray Mill House, it felt like something far beyond the usual royal scandal. British royal matters are almost always. According to those nearby, it was almost like she already had a pretty good idea of what had been found. And that's what made the situation even more suspicious. If she knew what was hidden on the property, why hadn't she moved it, burned it, or at least locked it somewhere more secure? Camilla did issue a statement, but it was short and vague. She claimed it was all a misunderstanding. The documents were old, she said, historically valuable but harmless. But that only made people more curious. If they were harmless, why were they buried behind secret doors and locked in steel cases? Why was anything connected to Princess Diana being stored like evidence in a crime scene? Among the rumors, handwritten letters, confidential reports, even blueprints of secret tunnels. It didn't look like royal memorabilia. It looked like someone had gone to extreme lengths to hide something that could cause real damage, if ever revealed. This is where everything shifts. Some believe this isn't just about hidden documents. It's about Princess Diana. The connection between Diana and Camilla has always been a sore spot. But now, some are convinced that whatever the FBI uncovered ties directly to the final years of Diana's life. Her warnings, her fears, and the mysterious way she died are all resurfacing. There was a letter Diana wrote to her butler, expressing fear that someone might stage a fatal accident. At the time, it was dismissed. Now, it sounds like something that should have never been ignored. What if Camilla had that letter? Or worse, what if she had even more damning proof? A diary, secret tapes, or a list of people Diana was planning to expose? If Camilla had been hiding evidence, there's a chance someone found out and used it against her. Maybe someone had access to those documents. Maybe they threatened to leak everything unless she paid them off. That would explain the money transfers. It would explain the secrecy. It would explain her panic. And if the FBI got involved, it could mean they intercepted proof of that blackmail. Messages, audio recordings, or untraceable financial exchanges. They don't get involved over petty drama. There has to be something more serious. And here's where it all comes back to King Charles. He was told about the FBI raid as soon as it happened, but instead of addressing it, he said nothing. For a man who's spent decades managing how he's seen by the public, every photo op, every speech, every handshake, this silence felt out of place. Some insiders believe Charles had no idea this was coming, that he was completely blindsided, but others think he knew something and hoped it wouldn't come to light. Whatever the truth is, sources close to the palace say that behind closed doors, Charles was panicking. He immediately called for emergency meetings with his top advisors, desperate to figure out what was taken and whether Camilla had kept him in the dark. This wasn't just about defending his wife anymore. This was about protecting the entire monarchy. After waiting his entire life to wear the crown, he's facing the possibility that everything could fall apart. If this scandal grows, it might not stop with Camilla. The public trust in the monarchy is already fragile. Any more cracks, and the whole system could collapse. There's growing talk that King Charles might walk away from the throne earlier than expected, not because of health, not because of age, but because of something that might be spiraling out of his control. The FBI reportedly left with sensitive documents, and if those papers are as damaging as some fear, they could threaten everything Charles has tried to build. William is watching everything. While Charles scrambled, Prince William was staying quiet, but observant. As the next in line for the crown, he wasn't just watching this unfold like a concerned family member. He was calculating the risks to his own future. He spent years working to modernize the monarchy, alongside Kate, carefully shaping themselves into the face of a more relatable royal family, one that's not weighed down by the scandals of the past. But this one, it's different. Sources say William felt completely blindsided. He was angry, disappointed, and most of all, concerned that all the progress he's made could be undone overnight. Behind palace doors, there were whispers. Some said William was advised to stay quiet and let Charles handle the fallout. But others believed that if this situation gets worse, William wouldn't hesitate to step in. And if it comes down to protecting the monarchy or standing by his father, William might choose the crown. Some even claim he's already preparing for what happens if Charles decides to step aside earlier than planned. Then there's Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The public expected a response from them. After all, they've spent years pulling back the curtain on royal life through interviews, a Netflix series, and Harry's explosive memoir. This seemed like the kind of headline they'd jump on. But they didn't, not officially. Within the palace, some began whispering that Prince Harry might be feeling vindicated. For years, he had been the one accusing the institution of hiding dark truths. And now, with the FBI involved in a royal scandal, it looked like the kind of moment he had warned about. People wondered whether he would speak up again, especially with his past claims about secrecy surrounding Princess Diana's death still fresh in many minds. Yet so far there was silence. Those close to him suggested he was watching everything closely, weighing the right time to respond. It wouldn't be out of character for Harry to wait until more details come out before he makes another bold move. While most of the royal family retreated behind closed doors, Princess Anne stayed calm. Known for her discipline and loyalty to the monarchy, Anne usually avoids getting involved in emotional family matters. But this time, even she couldn't ignore the seriousness of the situation. Her commitment to duty and public trust made her one of the few royals who reportedly urged Charles and Camilla to act fast. She wanted them to speak up before things got worse. Anne didn't enjoy being caught in scandals, but she understood that silence could damage everything the monarchy stands for. If the chaos continues, she might become the voice pushing for accountability from within. Despite the growing chaos, the royal family hasn't said a word. No press briefings, no public comments, not even a vague denial. In their world, Silence is often used as a strategy, but in this case, it's only adding more suspicion. If it had all been a misunderstanding, wouldn't they have cleared it up by now? A short statement could have ended the speculation. Instead, the silence has become the loudest part of the story. It feels like they're either hiding something or waiting for it to go away on its own. Whatever they're keeping behind palace walls, the silence is only making people more suspicious. In today's world, secrecy doesn't buy you time. It just invites more eyes, more questions, and more pressure. The longer the royals stay quiet, the louder the noise outside becomes. And if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that even the most powerful families can't outrun the truth forever.